Chapter 5 of Killgloom Park by Neil Boyton, S.J. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Maria Therese. Chapter 5 Miss Caesar. Even for the 4th of July, the crowd in Killgloom Park was large. Since 10 in the morning, when the gates were thrown open, the public had been pouring into the great Coney Island amusement park, till now, close on 3 in the afternoon, the 40 acres of attractions in Killgloom Park were jammed. There had been work aplenty for all, and Angelo Daily, the youngest park employee, was the one who knew it. His oldest brother had forcibly taken him away from the care of his precious monkeys, and impressed him into the office service. Now, as an assistant cash collector, he was making his rounds of the various ticket boxes. At the Animal World, he dropped into a vacant chair alongside of Oscar, the animal man, who had charge of the ballyhoo elephant, Clivey. "You know what, Oscar? The only fellow around this park who celebrated the 4th is Ferocity." "How is that?" "This morning there was a blessed event in his family, and Mrs. Ferocity presented him and us with 8 kittens. Ma's going to have the cook drown all but 3 or 4. One is going to look just like his daddy when he gets his eyes open, but I hope he has a different disposition. Ferocity must have been celebrating, for about an hour ago he got a whisker singe at Little Red Rankin's stand. That old cat was stealing a hot dog, and he got too close to the fire. Serves him right, too." Angelo Daily, without a pause for breath, began to complain to the world. "You know what? Saturday I worked like a horse, and yesterday was Sunday, and I got to church, and that was about all. Now today is the 4th, and I got to work more than ever, and not the kind of work I am paid for either. 13 times I have made the rounds of the ticket boxes this ballroom side of the Chute Lake. I have to look after 9 ticket takers, and the way they want more rolls of tickets and small change. You know what, Oscar? I bet Captain will have to close the gates and keep them out within an hour." "Captain will never do that, Angelo," observed Oscar. "Your daddy is too old a showman. When the park gates close, the season is over." "Well, I wish it was midnight, and then I could fall into my cot and sleep sweet sleep." Angelo Daily, the lag-weary, sat for a delicious minute longer, watching the queue of patrons buying tickets for the next show in the Animal World. Across the park he could hear the shooting, where another performance at the Naval Battle was banging away. Then he found himself thirsty, and remembering where there was a water faucet within the animal concession, he walked past the ticket taker. Crossing the menagerie, where the red and golden cages of the wild beasts were on exhibition, Angelo Daily had ample cause to forget his thirst. The cage of Miss Caesar was at the extreme corner of the menagerie. As the park boy approached it to reach the faucet of water, he saw the door at the back swing open, and the tawny lioness leap down. Angelo stepped on his shadow, and blessed himself hastily. The lioness looked at him lazily, and then deliberately turned, and walked away toward the sunlight that came through a half-open yard door. In the other direction there were easily 1,000 people, ignorant of the fact that a wild beast was loose, and untold thousands of the public milling about the amusement park walks. The boy knew he was witnessing the start of a terrific panic. He muttered, "On the 4th, too!" But Angelo's mind was busy thinking what to do. What to do? Happily, Miss Caesar seemed to have a definite destination in mind, for she leisurely crossed the space behind her vacated den and disappeared through the door into the yard behind the Animal World. When the lioness's shadow disappeared, Angelo ran forward to close and lock that door. Then he turned around, and pushing his vigorous way through the incoming crowd, sought Oscar. He whispered into that animal man's ear, "You know that Miss Caesar? Well, that lioness just went on a hike out into the yard by the carpenter shop." "What?" Oscar threw off his mid-afternoon weariness, as though it was a snake discovered in his bosom. He called several animal men, and with Angelo at their heels, they quietly headed for the door into the yard. A thorough search of the yard, where were stored extra cars, chute boats under repair, and the lumber for park constructions, failed to reveal any loose lioness. Captain Daly arrived, and by the bulge in his side pocket, Angelo knew his father carried an automatic. But still further secret search, augmented by all the available animal men, brought not a clue to Miss Caesar's present address. Then Angelo had a horrifying thought. Somewhere he had read that lions were partial to monkey meat. Around the corner was the jungle scene, where most of the park monkeys were caged. Among these tidbits was Buddy. Angelo lost no time cutting through the animal world concession. He noted with satisfaction that the public, through whom he wormed his way, were entirely ignorant of the feverish lion hunt that was being conducted a few 100 feet away. "Lady, if you only knew what I know," he muttered as he pushed by a stout woman with 3 children in tow. Angelo found his monkeys in no unusual excitement, so he concluded that Miss Caesar had not lunched yet, at least, not on her alleged favorite meat. Unlocking the cage door, the boy stepped in, and at once the monkeys bade him welcome. But Angelo was on rescue bent. Paying no attention to the leaping and chattering simians, he called authoritatively, "Jiggs, get down! Maggie, you too! Buddy, you come right here!" From a far corner where he had been taking an afternoon siesta on the sunny limb of a bare tree, the small monkey awoke and leaped towards his young master. Some people were passing on the old mill side of the cage, and a fresh voice called out, "Hello, big monk!" Before Angelo could think up a suitable reply, the mill boatload had glided out of sight. Angelo collared his pet and retreated from the jungle scene. Elbowing his way as best he could through some 10,000 people, he finally reached the Daily private apartments across from the busy executive offices. Hastily parking Buddy in his own room, where he fastened his pet's chain to the leg of the chair nearest to the window, he closed the windows and locked his door. Meeting his mother, he made the cryptic observation, "Lions eat monks, Ma," and was off. Angelo found an irate older brother in the executive offices. "Say, what were you doing? Playing around, I suppose, on a record-breaking day like this. Don't you know this is the 4th? Did you go swimming or what?" Angelo waved G.T.'s wrath aside with a disarming gesture. "You'd have done the same, G.T., if you know what I know." "What?" "You know that Miss Caesar? Well, that lioness is hiking somewhere about the park, and I put my Buddy where she won't make a hot dog sandwich out of him. I don't mind ferocity. He can take care of himself." G.T. looked solemn when he learned of the loose lioness. "Never knew it to fail. Get a capacity crowd, and some full wild animal gets out. Does Cap know?" "Yes, he's down there now, and he has an automatic in his handiest pocket. I heard him say to shoot the beast, but the dear public don't know. They are somewhere in darkest Africa, or you would hear them from worse than you do now." From below the private offices' windows came the happy, multi-toned voices of a holiday-minded crowd. Both boys were familiar with the panic sounds, and they dreaded their reoccurrence. "Well, the show goes on. Get around to the ballroom side ticket offices and see if they need anything." Angelo departed on his route. He kept his ears open, but evidently the busy ticket sellers had not yet heard of the secret intensive lion hunt going on in another section of Killgloom Park. Angelo saw Big Al Dundee, the chief of the park detectives, going around and quietly calling his men to join in the hunt. The boy accosted Al. "Say, Al, any news of Miss Caesar?" "A colored cook in the restaurant quit and went over the back fence. We think he must have sighted the missing young lady. I'm getting some men to search around the vicinity of the restaurant. Want to help?" "No, thanks. And you'll need the help of all the ambulances on Coney Island if Miss Caesar decided to get her food in the restaurant dining room." Angelo Daily made his rounds to the various ticket boxes on his route. Box number 37 wanted some more half-fare old mill tickets. Box number 19 needed $10 in quarters. The girl in box number 24 at the Ferris wheel wanted to know when her supper relief was coming. Box number 46 at the foot of the chutes wanted nickels and 2 rolls of adult tickets. Angelo gathered all the details and wormed his way through the public back to the offices. Various reports of sighting the loose lioness reached Angelo. Twice he took time out of his arduous 4th of July duties to pay a hurried visit to his own room and assure himself that Buddy had not yet been eaten or suffocated. As a precaution against the latter possibility, he opened one of the windows 2 inches from the top and put another chain on Buddy. At the second inspection, he brought his pet a small banana and gave him the advice, "You eat this and stay where you are. Do you want to be eaten by lions? That's what will happen to you if Miss Caesar gets her paws on you." This warning seemed to have the desired effect on the small monkey, for he made a face at his master and then began to peel down the banana skin. Regretfully, Angelo went back to his rounds as emergency ticket boy. It was after midnight of the 4th of July, and the last thousands of amusement seekers had finally remembered that they had homes and bed and work in the morning. The Saturday, Sunday, and fourth grind of extra work was over, and the tearing tigers under GT's leadership were gathering for relaxation. "Come on, fellows. Chubby and Wish and you triplets may come too. It's time we celebrated." The boys followed GT into the old swimming hole building. Only a few lights were on, and they had the dim pool to themselves for a midnight dip. They dove and floated and skylarked. When some of the weariness of the day's strain was gone, GT sprang in surprise. "Don't get dressed now, but come on around to the den. Now it's time we celebrate." Eagerly, the 7 other tearing tigers followed their acknowledged leader. By the partly open doors of innumerable dressing rooms, down the long main corridor, they chased after GT. At the end of the corridor, GT ducked into the last dressing room and opened the emergency trapdoor in the floor. GT threw on his flashlight, and the few steps that led down to the sands of Coney were visible. All bear walked till they had cleared the pool building piles. Then they straightened and crossed the short distance to the canvas side of the set that depicted Caesar landing in Britain. The moon was high and cast a ghostly brilliancy on the papier-mâché figures of the ancient Roman general and his red-caped legionnaires. Up on the tinny cliff, the sharp-shadowed figures of the defending British savages loomed menacingly. "Whoopee!" Chubby gloated. "Those blonde-wigged barbarians look the part in this light. You'd almost imagine they would come to life." "If they did," observed Wish Crag dryly, "you'd give a good imitation of one of those, I forget what you call them, airplanes that start up like an elevator." "Is that so?" put in GT. "Well, I'd be a local alongside of your express elevator imitation. Why, you'd give an angel pointers on a non-stop flight to Washington." "I wouldn't mind those Britons coming to life," boasted Angelo Daily. "But if I saw that missing Miss Caesar, my guardian angel would lose his breath trying in vain to catch up with me." At the same time, Angelo cast a thorough glance all about the favorite set. "You'll be seeing a loose menagerie of wild and hungry animals if you fellows keep up that line of talk. Come on, let's celebrate the 4th and get to bed." "It's really the 5th now, GT," said Claude Hazard, stifling a yawn. "Another reason for making it fast." GT Daly led the way to the far corner of Caesar landing in Britain, and here he drew back a piece of tarpaulin and uncovered a small box. Within were 3 sticks of dynamite, and alongside was a detonator. "Say," expostulated Angelo, edging further away, "what are you going to do with that?" "We're going to celebrate the 4th. Cap gave me permission for a national salute." "That's 21 guns," protested Chubby. "Well, each of these sticks will represent 7 guns. Stretch out that wire, Chubby, and you fellows stay up there against the side wall." With Chubby Kramer's reluctant assistance, GT Daly laid out the wire from the detonator. To the far end of the wire he attached a stick of explosive. Happening to glance back, GT yelled, "Angelo Daly, get 20 feet away from that detonator. You fool about that plunger now, and you would send an electric current into the stick, and you'll have to help gather me up." Hastily, Angelo backed away the desired distance from the detonator. When GT had the stick of dynamite attached to the wire, he ran lightly across the sand of the set, and while the boys held their breath, he drove home the plunger. Boom! There was a flash. Boom! And almost instantly the louder echoes came crashing back from the enclosed space of the set. But the other 14 salutes to the departed 4th were not to be fired just yet. From the end of the scenery nearest to the back of the restaurant concession, there came a startled roar, and next second the horrified boys saw the shape of a large black cat outlined against the whiteness of the cliff of Britain. It was Angelo who identified the shape. "Ferocity, nothing! That's Miss Caesar, and she is scared stiff by the dynamite." "Miss Caesar!" the Lee triplets shouted, without a split second's time between their exclamations. "We're going right home," and they disappeared in the general direction of the trapdoor. But GT and Angelo, with show instinct, directed loudly, "Watch where she goes! Watch where she goes!" "If she comes this way, I'll throw the stick of dynamite at her head," warned the frightened Chubby. But the loose lioness had no intention of attacking the boys. Her one desire was to escape from the neighborhood of that tremendous noise that had startled her from slumber. She bounded across the far end of the sands and disappeared into the opening of the old mill. At once GT sent Angelo for Oscar and the other animal men. Angelo, who knew almost as many shortcuts as the park tomcat, Ferocity, darted under the nearest edge of canvas, climbed through a window, and came out in the deserted Ballroom Beautiful. In no time he spread the alarm to the animal world. G.T. met his dad and the available animalmen who came running with ropes and pitchforks. "She's in there, crouched down and scared stiff. In there between the wall and the canvas." Oscar and several other animal men advanced across the sand to the set. There was no struggle, and the loose lioness, Miss Caesar, who had kept Killgloom Park on the verge of a disastrous 4th of July panic, was recaptured and hauled out. "Scared is right," said Oscar. "She's trembling. What did you fellows do to her?" "We caught her with dynamite," said G.T. "I've heard of fishing with dynamite, but this is the first lion hunt, in my recollection, in which that explosive was used," said Captain Daly. "Cap!" shouted Angelo from his coign of vantage among the blonde-wigged savages of Britain. "Get hold of Tex Ayres, and you will have a fine story for the morning papers." "Story nothing, son," said Captain Daly emphatically. "It would look nice in print to say that the lioness was loose all through the 4th, with 100,000 patrons nearby. The best stories do not get into print, son. They get killed. But you boys shoot off the rest of your salute to Uncle Sam, and then get to bed." "I'll say we need bed," agreed Angelo, as with hands to ears he waited for the second and third stick of dynamite to shake the ground. End of Chapter 5. Recording by Therese.